What makes a person of interest? Coach Michael Burt cuts to the chase, interviewing some of the biggest names in the world. How do they think? What makes them tick? What are their thought processes? And how they became a person of interest.
Hey guys, I'm Coach Michael Burt, the Super Coach. I believe everybody needs a good coach in their life. I believe those that have a coach earn 3 and 4 times the amount of money than those that don't. And I also believe in attracting business versus chasing it, which is why many years ago I wrote this book, probably one of my biggest concepts, Person of Interest. And because the book has been so popular, sometimes a concept comes out and then years later it really catches. This book is really catching now. So I wanted to come back and do a podcast called Person of Interest, where I interview some of the key influencers in the world. They're living fascinating lives, they're doing fascinating things, they're having a fascinating impact in the world, and that's why I got my good friend and personal physician, Dr. Steve Hotze, all the way from Houston, Texas, founder of the Hotze Health and Wellness Center. And Dr. Hotze's got a book, he's got many books, right? But this is one of my favorite books, which is How to Do a 180, Join the Health and Wellness Revolution. I've been working with Dr. Hotze over the last year, and man, it's been a great treat. So Doc Hotze, General, welcome to the Greatness Factor.
Here, Coach. Glad
and
to be here.
You came in today and was a dynamite.
It was a great event this morning with a bunch of monster producers.
Yes.
Great. They were
legendary creatures.
Yeah, well, they were legendary creatures. They weren't crawling on the floor. They were sitting politely in their chairs, and they were a great group and responded well.
Yeah.
I hit a pretty hard lick.
Well, you are a person of interest. Okay, so when I before I knew Dr. Hotze, I was his CEO, Monica.
Yeah, she's my president. Monica Ludicky.
Monica Ludicky, right? Am I saying that correctly? I always call her Monty. And she called in for me to speak out at the Hotze Health and Wellness Center. And the more homework we did, the more research. I remember telling my team, man, this guy's a real person of interest. He's out there in the world. He's involved in political campaigns. He's running a very successful wellness factory. He's moving and shaking. This is the kind of guy I want to work with. So let's go back to the beginning of your story, because you were just a traditional MD. You went to medical school and was doing the same thing every other doctor was doing in the world until a few things happened.
Well, I think what was really important in my life is something that happened long before I went to medical school. When my mother told me as a young man, she said, son, don't follow the herd.
Yes.
You're going to get trampled, they'll stampede you, you run off a cliff. You provide leadership. Go the right way and get people to follow you. Don't go following the herd. And that put me in good stead. And so I took that to heart. Became president of my student body. I was a quarterback on the football team and just decided I'm going to be a leader.
Yes.
She focused me in the right direction. And then my dad told me, the night I graduated from med school, he turned to me over a banquet at Houston Club in July 30th, 1976, before you were born, Coach. He turned to me and said, son, I said, yes, sir. He said, son, don't poison your patients like all the other doctors do.
Yes. And
that planted a seed in my mind that ultimately gave birth to the Hotze Health and Wellness Center. I practiced emergency medicine, and I had an occupational medicine practice and family medicine. But that seed planted in my mind really started to grow when a little lady came into my office one day and I said, how you doing, Miss Jones? And this is in 1988. And she looked at me, first patient in the morning, with a big smile on her face, and she said, doctor, I feel like $1 million ever since I threw away all the drugs you were giving me. And I thought, that woman's smart. That's what my dad told me. She knew I was poisoning her. She felt terrible.
Yes.
And let me just ask you this. You taking all these drugs that conventional doctors are giving you and you feel terrible? What does that tell you?
Yeah.
Drugs, I'm going to show you this. Drugs are toxins. I know that because I took a pharmacology course in medical school.
Yes.
First, one of the chapters in the books is detoxification of pharmaceutical drugs. You got to detoxify it. What do you detoxify? A toxin. Drugs are toxins. The definition of toxin is poison. Let me tell you, you can't poison yourself to good health. You just can't do it. I don't care what they say, what the conventional doctors say, what all the advertisement says. You can't put poison in your body and get well. And I know that because I've seen people die from the poisons they put in their body. And it was in 1988 is when, because a problem my dad had, a health problem, that he got me on track and told me, son, he asked me a question. He said, this doctor has recommended, he was having a health problem with his heart. I said, this doctor newsletter he recommended vitamins. And he said, what do you think I ought to take? And I said, Dad, I'm a doctor. What do I know about vitamins? Now, that's a sorry commentary. He said, well, you find out. And so it was my dad's illness, his adversity with a severe heart problem that he developed, that he said, find out about vitamins and minerals. And by gum, by golly, I did. And now I've got a multi-million-dollar vitamin business that we ship all over the world in vitamins. But in every adversity, there's a secret of equal or greater benefit. And we found it in my dad. So anyway, that's the story of how I got into natural approaches to health. And it took me about 10 years in natural approaches to health to completely clear my mind out and realize, because you're so indoctrinated.
Yes.
Your doctors are indoctrinated in the disease model of medicine where they treat it with either a drug or surgery.
Right.
And they're gonna, what they have is sickness factories. Coach has got he's got I've got a greatness factory. I like to think we got a wellness factory.
Yes.
You know, but the doctors that you go see, it's a sickness factory. And people stay sick and they stay on drugs. Anyway, that's not the way we do business at Hotze Health and Wellness Center. And as I mentioned to Coach, taking this position, you think it makes me popular at the Texas Medical Center? One of the most popular, biggest medical centers in the entire world. You think they're carrying around placards, we love Dr. Hotze, we want him to be the head of the medical center? I don't think so. But you know what? If you don't have a message that repels, you will not have a message that attracts. If you don't have a message that repels, you don't have a message that sells. You've got to stand up. You've got to have some core values and beliefs, and you've got to take a stand on what those beliefs are. Stand up, tell people what you believe, for crying out loud. That's what's wrong in this world. We got the wrong kind of people telling us what they believe, and those of us on this side, you know, that believe in hard work and dignity and God and family and those things, we're intimidated. We got to stand up for what we believe in our professions and in our life and in our country. And if you do that, you're going to repel people. You think Donald Trump practices this better than anybody?
Yes.
He repels a lot, but guess what? He attracts a lot. So did Rush Limbaugh. There's a ton of people you can look at who have a message. They tell you what they believe, and you either like them or you don't. That's what I like about Coach Burt. Coach Burt tells it like it is. He comes, I like what he says. And sometimes he steps on my toes and he pinches and it hurts. But I know that he's right, and he comes in and tells us what needs to be done. And I know what his values are. I know about his Christian faith. And he's got that on his website. What business coach in the country has devotionals on their website? Really?
Yeah, I wrote a blog once because I want to pull something out that is very important to this concept of person of interest. I wrote a blog once, your guru is missing one thing, God. Because so many people out there talk about infinite intelligence or whatever God you worship, or you know, the universe or the cosmos, and that's what they say to in their mind, so that they don't repel anybody. But one of the things about being a person of interest, when you went down this path and you begin to get clear about what you believed and you begin to share these, is you not only attracted the right people to you, but you begin to repel people, and you begin to get a lot of criticism. So people of interest, what I see a lot is they don't have firm beliefs. They have vanilla beliefs. It's like, I don't know what they stand for. You take your message out into the market, you get enormous support, and you get enormous criticism. When you first started getting that, how did that feel to you? Did it feel uncomfortable?
Well,
because your mom planted that seed in your brain about, most moms don't plant the seed in their brain. Number one, go against the herd. Most parents say fit in, go there, be seen but not heard, go along, get along, don't rock the cart, don't create any tension. So that was a big win for you. But when you begin to get this national criticism, how did you handle that initially? Talk about that.
Well, it's interesting because I got involved in conservative Christian politics in 1976, supporting Ronald Reagan in Texas, and went to conventions, stood up and took a stand. I was very proud about the stand we took, and I took the stand. So I learned in politics to fade the heat. I just learned if you're going to move the ball down the field, people are going to fight you all the way to try to keep you out of the end zone. And I just learned to do it. So doing it in medicine, I'd already done it for 30 or I guess, 20 years in politics. So I'd already been trained. And I tell people, I run my business, I like to say this. While I'm a medical doctor, first and foremost, I'm an entrepreneur, a free enterprise businessman. Yes. Now, most people, how many doctors think of themselves as business people?
Right.
Well, let me tell you, what is business? Business is an activity where you make a product or a service and sell it for money.
Yes.
Well, isn't that what doctors do? Don't they sell their services and get paid for it? So they are a business, but they don't want to believe that. But they are a business, and if you're a business, you ought to conduct your practice like businesses conduct. You ought to have financial standings, you ought to have recruitment standings, you ought to know about marketing, you ought to know about sales, you ought to know about how to work on your business and not in it. And I know this, our patients, whom we call guests, they appreciate the thing running like a business.
Yes.
And it not only that, here's another thing that we learned to take it to a different level. If you want to be successful, you have to differentiate yourself from the competition. You've got to be different. You've got to have core values, core beliefs. You've got to know what you believe. Coach teaches, and I totally agree with him, when somebody asks you what you do, don't tell them what you do, tell them what you believe. You find out right away whether or not they agree with you or not. So like Coach says, he believes everybody needs a coach in life because he believes people are going to make more money if they have a coach them along.
Right.
The coach will help them see things they can't see because they're inside the picture frame. Coach is outside the picture frame. He can see things we can't see in our lives. That's what a good coach does. A good coach will get you to do things today that you don't want to do so you can do things tomorrow that you want to do. This is what a good coach does. And so I said, you know what, that makes a lot of sense to me. So my explanation of services I've adopted right now is what we say, is I tell people, they say, what do you do? I say, let me tell you what I believe. I believe that every person, you included, you need a doctor and a staff of professionals who will coach you on a path of health and wellness naturally without pharmaceutical drugs, So as you mature, you've got energy, you're brimming with vim and vigor, you got enthusiasm, you got to get up and go. That's what I believe. And then what we do is we put people on a healthy program. Good healthy eating lifestyle, replenishment of hormones, vitamin, mineral supplementation, and nutritionally, and then an exercise program. And we do this to help their cells generate energy. And if you generate a lot of energy in your cells, you're going to be a high voltage live wire. And that's what we want to be. And Coach is a live wire. I like to think of myself as being a live wire, but I'm 67. How can I feel so good? How can I feel so good? Really?
Well, I like this word vim and vigor. You say that a lot because you especially in this book, I think everybody should get a copy of this book, Do a 180, because everybody needs to do a 180 in their health. And Dr. Hotze has a unique ability of breaking things down to where they're simple and easy to understand. The medical profession for me for many years was always complicated.
They do it intentionally. They do it intentionally.
Yeah, it's almost like financial advisors make it complicated.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I didn't really understand if something was low now. And he explained to me one day, he said, Coach, as you age, your body naturally declines in its ability to do certain things.
Right. The hormones decline. Most of Americans are not eating healthy, so we're getting all kinds of chemicals in our food and in our drinks and slathering on our body and what we're breathing. We got all those kind of problems. We don't get vitamins and minerals because we're eating processed food, so we can't detoxify ourselves. We're just getting toxic, and when you get toxic, you get all kinds of symptoms. You go to the doctor and they got a pill for this symptom. They got an antidote for everything. They got antihistamine for allergies. They got antiarrhythmics when you have an irregular heart. They got anti-inflammatories when you got joint pain. Antispasmodics when you got gastrointestinal problems. Antibiotics, anti this, anti that. They got all these drugs simply to mask your symptoms. Why get the symptoms to begin with? Why don't you just be healthy? That's why I say do a 180 and take charge of your health. If you don't take charge of your health, let me just ask you who is. Right. Is your doctor? He's not going to take charge of your health. You think he gives one hoot about your health? You think he lays in bed at night thinking about your health? I don't think so. He's worried about trying to make a living because the insurance companies are screwing him out of money and making him get low paybacks for slow paying him, and he's got administrative costs and he's got paperwork to do. He doesn't think about you at night. He's not thinking about your health. Your insurance company sure doesn't care about your health.
Right.
You think your employer lays in bed worried about your health? Maybe your wife or husband worries about your health. Maybe. But nobody is responsible for your health but you. And you need to take charge of your health. If you don't, look, I like to say it like this, Coach. The vast majority of Americans are driving down the health freeway on the wrong side of the road. And guess what's going to happen when they come to that overpass? They're going to get slammed and they're going to be crippled or killed.
Yeah.
Like that. You know, half the people that have their first heart attack never see the light of day after that. They die, half the people, and it's unexpected. They just drop dead of a heart attack.
All right, so let me ask you this question, because here's something I saw once. I saw a stat once, and you tell me if you think it's true, that like 78% of people who do have a heart attack and survive it still do not change their habits. I'm sure you see this as a physician. I don't know if that stat's correct, but it's a high number.
Well, and it may be true. It may be. I don't know that stat or not, but I know this is that I only want to do business with people that want to take care of their health. I have no interest in taking care of people who don't want to take care of themselves, who won't do a 180 and take charge of their health. Why should I waste my time when there are other people like you and other people that we have in our center that our other physicians see? We've got people that come and pay handsomely for our services, and they invest their money outside of insurance to take care of their health. Those are the people that I want to help, or people that want to help themselves. So I think it's probably true. People got themselves in that shape and got a heart attack, probably not going to do much to change it after that.
So let me ask this question.
But let me say this.
Yeah.
I do believe this, is that God created everybody. And you have a responsibility before God. You've got your body. God gave it to you. You're responsible to take care of that body while you're here on this earth.
Now, somewhere along the way, you decided to begin really marketing. This is something that's very unusual for most physicians. You begin writing books. You begin speaking.
Radio
you begin radio
TV,
programs.
magazines.
And this is very big, because a lot of people out there that own their own businesses do not get this concept. The problem is obscurity. Obscurity is you're really good, but nobody knows it. It's nobody else's responsibility except yours to go out there and get attention for your message. But you begin saying, I'm going to be a person of interest in the medical field. I'm going to write books, get on the radio, do television. Talk a little bit about that side, because one of your skill sets is this marketing.
Right.
You're a physician that is a marketeer. I mean, you really are a world-class marketer. And when did that decision happen, and how did it start? You say, I'm going to write a book. You go to a workshop, you hear somebody speak. What happened?
This is really strange. It goes back to politics. In politics, you got to market your candidates and your views and get people organized. And I have strong convictions politically. I'm a strong free enterprise capitalist, and I'm proud to be a capitalist. Thank you. Because guess what the difference in capitalism and socialism? Socialism is people wait in line to buy bread if it's available. In a capitalist society, bread's put all over the loaf waiting for people to buy it. I mean, all over the shelf. Capitalism supplies our needs. But anyway, I'm a strong free enterprise conservative. And so I learned in politics how to organize and how to get out the vote and to market our ideas, to get our people to go to conventions and vote for our candidates. It's the same principles. Marketing is marketing. And I do believe this, like Dan Kennedy says, he says, every great businessman is first a great marketer. And this goes back to a pithy little statement. And it's this: he who has a thing to sell and goes and whispers in a well will never make the kind of dollars like he who gets on the roof and hollers. Nothing happens until there's a sale, but you've got to let people know what you're selling. And if you don't let them know, you can have the best product in the world and they don't know about it. So you get it. So I've been, radio program for 15 years, 5 days a week, on TV program once a month for 14 years, written books in Southwest airline magazines, done all that, and just to make sure that people were branded. Now, the best way to get new customers or new patients, new guests, new clients is referrals. That's the best way. But you want to stay out there, so when your friend goes like, I'm seeing Coach Burt. I tell you, well, let me tell you about Coach Burt. He goes, I read about Coach Burt.
Right.
I saw an article about Coach Burt. So it clicks. You're a person of interest. You're somebody. Well, tell me what you think about Coach Burt. I think he's a great guy. He's taught us a ton. I was thinking about using him. Well, you ought to. Give him a call. So referrals are easier oftentimes if you have a message out there and people know of you and know about you. And then you have something to give them. Remember, if you've got book, I like to say this, what would you rather do when you're making a sales call? Would you rather leave somebody a card? Or you're just a salesman? Or you leave them a book and you're an authority?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're an authority.
Now, do you sit down and write these books? Do you use ghostwriters? How does that work?
No. These books are written. I've worked on all 3 books with Monica Ludick, who's our president. So we've written them together. Sometimes she'll do a first draft on it. I'll go back and redraft things. She's probably a much better writer than I am, but I like to wordsmith it. So I'll give Monica a tremendous amount of credit. But I do, every one of these books, I spend tons of time in writing those.
So let's talk about this. A lot of people watching the show, especially person of interest, are solopreneurs that are trying to build enterprises or businesses, okay? Just like you, if you started as just a physician.
Right.
I'm an MD, I'm a doctor, Dr. Hotze. Some point, you made a decision, I want to build an enterprise. I want to build a business. I want to build a wellness center. I want to get involved in manufacturing my own vitamins. I want to have my own pharmacy. I want to have my own, candy bars that people can eat that are healthy. They're not candy, but you know what I'm saying. Healthy candy bars.
Healthy bars.
I want to get involved in all of this. Talk to the person out there, because to me, there's a lot of fear that goes into these decisions. It's like, well, I'm going to cut into some of my profit. We're not going to make as much money. When we have a staff, when we have a team, when we have a wellness factory, what would you tell those people?
Let me tell you what, if you're not growing, you're dying. And so you've got to write down, you got to decide where you want to be. And we call it writing down BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. You've heard about that. So we'll write a big goal down, where we want to be. And let me tell you what, I trust that you're writing down goals. You've got to be writing down goals, what you want to accomplish. And you've got to write down the benefits of those goals. You've got to write down the obstacles that would prevent you from achieving your goal. You need to find out who you need to know that can help you with your goal. You need to know what you need to know about your goal, and then you got to write down a plan of action, and you got to date it. That's so key and important. And set a big, hairy, audacious goal. You decide where you want to be. But I like to think big, and even if it's big, hairy, and you don't make it, you go a lot farther than if you'd have set a little bitty goal. So set a goal for yourself. And what you have to do is you've got to determine why you're here, why God put you here, what's your purpose here. Because that's what you need to be doing, is doing what your purpose is. It's called a vocation. What is your vocation? Vocation comes from the Latin word vocere, which means to call. It's your calling. God's calling on your life to do something. Find out what it is and do it with your whole heart. That's what you need to do. Be passionate about it. Be convicted about it. You can change people's lives. God put you here for a purpose, and you don't want to wake up in the middle of winter and summer and spring, go, where have you, and wonder what you did during summer and spring.
That's right. There comes a time when winter asks what you did all spring and summer. Right?
That's exactly right. So, hey, look, and think of it another way. There's a parable in the Bible about Jesus taught about the man with talents. He gave some 10 talents, some 5 talents, some 1 talent. Some of them went and reproduced.
Right.
One of them just dug a hole in the ground. He said, I know you're a hard master, and I didn't want to lose it then. So he goes, at least you could have put it in a bank and drawn interest. He said, I'm taking that away from you. I mean, There comes a time we're going to have to make an account for what we've done with our lives, before God. Think about that, friend. That kind of gets me a little scared sometimes. Think about that. I thank God for Christ and His blood, but I want to do well.
Is that why you have such a passion and desire for getting certain people elected, for helping a candidate? Is that right? Where does that deep conviction? Because you contribute from your own resources to support other people's missions. Okay. Now, where does that conviction and passion come from? Because you've played on a national level, local, regional, national level as it relates to politics. You've gotten out there and contributed months of your life. You've gone places. You've raised money. You push people to raise money. Talk a little bit about where that passion and conviction comes from and why you think everybody should have some of that.
Well, who's going to take care of our country if you don't? Who's going to look? I've got 23 grandkids. I've got 8 children. I've got a heritage that I have from my parents who were both actively involved. My dad was one of the campaign fundraisers. He led Harris County, which is Houston, Texas. He was the fundraiser for Reagan and met with Reagan and knew him. And Mom was strong pro-life, and so there was always politics in our house.
Gotcha.
So, and I liked it because I just think. We've got to, if you don't stand up for our country, the Marxists are going to take over the country. That's what's going to happen. And friend, what's second? And the secularists, the godless, look at what's happening in the country. If I don't take a stand, I'm responsible before God to be involved. I believe this. Every area of life needs to be brought under the authority of God through Christ. That's what I believe. I don't believe in this mamsy-pamsy Christianity where you just go to church, close the door, say your prayers, and don't let it affect your life. That's just phony. It ought to imbue your business, it ought to imbue your politics, everything you do. What you believe, what you think is going to determine what you do and how you act. So if you tell me you don't think politics is important or civil government is important, well, I'm going to tell you what, then don't gripe when they take advantage of you and steal all your money and they turn your kids into a bunch of atheists and a bunch of communists. Don't go griping to anybody. You're responsible for your children's education, both spiritual education and their regular book education. You're responsible for that. So that's the way I see it. It's a duty. I love it too because I know I'm doing what's right. I know what God's called me to do that, and I have the ability to do that. I'm not saying everybody has to be out in a lead role like I am, and not everybody really is wired that way. But we need to be strong. Look, our nation was founded by godly men. We have a godly heritage, and I think we need to restore that godly heritage in America. That's what I believe.
All right, let's shift the conversation and talk about, you've got a big goal now of impacting 3 million people through 500 physicians. 5,000 physicians. And so because of that, you're now created a new division of your company called Hotze Elite Physicians.
Right.
And Hotze Elite Physicians is really a coaching and training division of your company, which is training doctors about how they can run their businesses like businesses, but also can help them add significant amount of revenue to their bottom line. Talk a little bit about what the vision is of Hotze Elite Physicians.
My pastor, Ed Young at Second Baptist, Dr. Young said, Hotze, you've got to go out, you got to tell people what you're doing. You got to set these up all over the country. You got to train people. We thought about that for 5 or 10 years, 15. And finally, he got me off my tail. He said, you got a responsibility to go out and train other doctors to do what you're doing so they can help their patients. So the whole goal of this is first to reach people who are right now being improperly cared for through conventional medical means, and they can be healthy and well. Now, don't get me wrong. Modern medicine in the United States, if you have a severe accident or injury, is excellent, okay? But for the chronic problems people have as they age and mature, they don't have the answers. All they have is drugs for that. So what we want to do is train the doctors first in our medical protocols so they know how to get people healthy and well naturally. And then guess what? When people get healthy and well naturally, they really like their doctor. They appreciate that. And they will pay him handsomely in compensating for the services that he provides. Then he can transition away from insurance to cash-based practice. And when that happens, then he'll have more time, more money, and more freedom to enjoy his life. So that's the goal of Hotze Elite Physicians, and we just launched it. We spent 1.5 years building the airplane to take off, and we finally took off about 4 or 5 weeks ago at the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. So our goal is to train these physicians in our business and medical protocols, and it's going to transform the lives of millions of people. And we're leading a wellness revolution. Now, there are other doctors out doing similar things to what I do. There are doctors out there, and there's many that are a whole lot better doctors and leaders than I am, but just decided we're going to lead. Somebody's got to lead the wellness revolution. We got to train all these doctors. Somebody's got to do it. If not me, who? Somebody's got to do it. So it's another opportunity.
Well, a lot of this that I'm hearing, because I want to tie this into our concept of person of interest. People of interest do. People of interest take action. People of interest, what because Ed Young is a person of interest.
Right.
Leading
And
one of the largest churches in the country.
Largest church, got 78,000 members with 6 campuses.
78,000 people. That's a person of interest.
I'm sure the man's a serious person of interest.
Yeah. So
He's a godly guy.
But here's what I'm noticing. When you hang around other people of interest, right? When you and I get together, we're cranking each other's engine. We're thinking bigger. We're taking action. We're not talking about it. People of interest don't talk about it. They take action. They recalibrate when they make mistakes, but they're constantly engaged in a dynamic state.
Exactly.
And they're constantly bringing new value. Now, you said something, and I want to close on this one, and then we're going to get you to the airport. When I get you, here's what I wrote down. When I get you to a much better state, you will pay me handsomely for that. Because we say money changes hands when problems are solved.
Exactly.
And the bigger the problem, the more money people pay to solve it. And you're solving health problems, because a lot of people that call you at Hotze Health and Wellness, like, I see the problems because I've been working with you for a year, coaching your team. The doctors have a problem. Is they're stuck in an insurance-based business. How they're getting paid, they're getting beat down, they're getting all of these things. They don't know how to run a cash-based business. They don't know how to transform their clinic to a wellness factory like you have. They don't know how to do it. You're coming in and you're teaching them. That's solving a problem. And if you help them make a couple $100,000 more a year,
you think I'm going to be?
They don't mind giving you some of it.
That's right.
If a person comes to you and they've gone to traditional medical doctors and they're down and they have no energy and they can't get things going, and you solve that problem for them, you get them on a path to health and wellness, like Brandy, who went through who is constantly, and she's just compelled to go help other people. She's like, you got to do this. That's really what you're doing. Those are the problems you're solving.
Right. And I want to bring this up about Coach. Coach solves problems in business that need to be solved. He's got answers and solutions for that. And the thing I like about Coach Burt is he hangs around with a bunch of very successful people who want to do the same thing, who want to be more successful, grow their businesses. They're doers. So we brought Coach to Houston. What did I do? I threw a party for him at my house a year ago, and we've had several. And we had a big event here just this last month for Coach, where I think we had 85 or so people come out for lunch to hear Coach talk, and we're helping people in Houston be more successful. People that I know that are great guys that are doing well can be better. So one great thing about working with Coach Burt, you end up meeting a bunch of other entrepreneurs, and you can collaborate together, and you can learn by listening to them. You learn the concepts that they practice in their businesses, and you can translate it and transition it and put it in your own business, the same concepts. I can learn something about a car dealership that I can use in my health and wellness center or my vitamin store. The principles of business are all the same. And so that's one great thing about hanging around with Coach Burt, which I enjoy, is that I meet a bunch of very fascinating, interesting, successful individuals, and that's great, and that's worth the price of admission.
Well, this is something people of interest do, is that they link their people together. There's been 31,000 people go through the Hotze Health and Wellness Center over these years. 31,000 people have come through there. So a new concept we're working on is health and wealth. How do we link these successful people, like gravitate toward like, association breeds assimilation, how do we link these successful people together? And Dr. Hotze's helping them with their health, and I'm helping them with their wealth. And they both go hand in hand. And I'm constantly telling the monster producers, increase the value of your network. Let them exchange with each other, and that increases your value.
Right.
The more, we've got various levels, 25K level, Millionaire Club member. And here's the deal, these networks are becoming so valuable that millions of dollars are being exchanged in the group.
Right.
And the same thing can happen, so no matter what you do for a living, if you're in the insurance business, if you're in any business, link your successful networks together. That's what people of interest do.
That's an excellent point.
So I go to Houston, I go get my regimen and my treatment at the Hotze Health and Wellness Center, get my health together, and while I'm there, I'm taking business dinners with Dr. Hotze's friends, we're doing luncheons together, we're doing Monster Houston. There's all this synergy that's happening, and that's one thing that people of interest do, is they build deep networks.
Excellent point.
And you're probably the best in the world at building deep networks. You follow up, you take pictures, you send messages, there's all these things that you do to build a network of real players. You constantly stay in touch with people. These are little strategies that you use to drive up your POI score, but link your people together.
Well, I don't know if I do it as well as you. I learned a lot from you. I'm 67, he's 42, and I'm learning for this young man, and so can you. I love you, Coach.
Hey, love you too, man.
Thank you, buddy.
Dr. Stephen Hotze, the general. Hey, my personal physician out of Hotze Health and Wellness. I'm doing a 180 right now, guys. I'm going through the regimens. I'm getting everything. I'm getting my body where it should be so I can find my superhuman powers and be a person of interest, right? And that's one reason you need to go to Hotze Health and Wellness as well. Find your superhuman powers and get rid of the kryptonite. Guys, I'm Coach Michael Burt. Another great episode of Person of Interest. How to become the person other people want a piece of and cannot live without.
What makes a person of interest? Coach Michael Burt cuts to the chase, interviewing some of the biggest names in the world. How do they think? What makes them tick? What are their thought processes? And how they became a person of interest.